Okay, here we are in Naperville, Illinois at the Anderson's Bookstore, and I'm honored to be here with author Andy Parker. Andy, nice to see you today. Thank you so much for coming to Naperville. Andy wrote a book, For Allison, The Murder of a Young Journalist and a Father's Fight for Gun Safety. And those who don't know that, Allison and her camera operator, Adam, were gunned down, and you wrote this book. And first of all, my condolences to you and your family. Um, so some people don't get to this stage where they write a book of something that has happened to their family. Why did you go this route?
Well, I've always wanted to honor her through action, and the first step for me was to come out swinging and really take on the NRA and the gun lobby. And so as I did that, and I talked to other families that had gone through the same thing that I had, and going on this, really it was an odyssey. I thought, well, there's a story to be told here. And a friend of mine who's a best-selling author had approached me not 6 weeks after Allison was killed, and she said, "Andy, you've got a book in here." And I went, I don't know. I mean, people saw what happened. I don't know what more that I could add. But again, the more I went out, the more that the time had passed. After about a year, I thought, there is a story to tell.
Well, for those who don't, I want to learn about Allison. Who was she, and let's hear about her.
She was pretty remarkable. She was, one of these kids that anything she picked up, she did well. She was a very talented, musician. She was a beautiful dancer. She decided, I guess, her junior year in high school, they took a band trip to Atlanta, and they went, they toured CNN, and that was kind of the aha moment for her that this is what I want to do. But she was, and so she went to James Madison University and got her degree in journalism. Got a job got a job offer before she got her diploma, and went on to a station in New Bern, North Carolina, and then got recruited to Roanoke. But she was destined to do great things. I mean, she had the it factor. She'd turn heads when she walked into the room, but she was also beautiful on the inside. I mean, that was what you saw on TV was the person that she was. She was just a kind soul.
I think CNN actually tapped into their feed, and she did a story on CNN, so it kind of went full circle.
Yeah, she did, and it's one of the stories that I tell in the book. In fact, the picture for the cover was the day that she did that story. Adam, her cameraman, took that picture, and there was this freak snowstorm that along the I-81 corridor. Pre-Thanksgiving. It was the day before Thanksgiving. Everybody's out traveling, and she finished doing her live report for WDBJ, and her news director called her and said, "Well, you got one more to do. Having 60,000 viewers, you're going to have 6 million viewers." But of course, she nailed it. I mean, she just had ice water running through her veins. Special talent.
And I think looking through the book, you have some great pictures that the news station has a memorial is for her.
Yeah, they do for Adam and Allison. They did a memorial, and it's I don't get by there often, but when I do, there's always coins or flowers. I mean, people remember her, not just in the Roanoke and the New River Valley, but really it's amazing across the world, the United States and the world. You say, you talk about Allison, and you say what, and people are like, "Oh yeah, I remember exactly when that happened."
Part of the story is about book is about Allison, and also the fight for gun safety. Where are we in that whole debate? I mean, when this happened, or when any tragedy happens, they say, "Well, we'll have a discussion about it," and it kind of happens, and we don't. Well, where are we? I know you've delved into this, so let's hear about it.
Well, I think we're getting closer to actually making something happen. What's the tipping point after Parkland? Is that the tipping point? Well, it wasn't. That really, to me, wasn't the tipping point. The tipping point happened in the Virginia state elections in 2017. the gun issue was the number 2 issue in that election, and Democrats nearly picked up 15 seats, and they nearly took over the majority in the House of Delegates. But it's, and then when Parkland happened, you saw what happened in the midterms when the gun issue is the number 3 issue in the election. So people are noticing, and unfortunately, we have a Republican. We have Republicans in Congress, Republicans in state houses across the country. They're the roadblock to it. So essentially, if you can't change their mind, you got to change their seats. But I think that's what's going to happen.
Specifically, is there, like they say, gun loopholes? What do you feel is the thing that definitely needs to be changed?
Well, that's one of them. I mean, common sense. It's common sense stuff that most 97% of the American people agrees that we should have universal background checks, common sense measures. The gun show loophole where you can go online and buy anything you want. These flea market gun shows that you can, no questions asked. Is it going to save? Is it going to in and of itself stop the violence? No, but it's going to prevent a lot of it. You're not going to cure it all. It's like, wearing a seatbelt in a car crash. It can save your life. It may not if you're hit by a semi, but it's doing something, not nothing. So we're making progress.
Well, have you gone to the White House?
I have. Not this way.
No.
Well,
what was your reaction when he spoke about it after Parkland?
Well, I was on Face the Nation not too long after that, and Margaret Brennan, asked me the same question. I said, I don't believe it. I mean, it's, you can't believe anything the guy says. He was like, oh yeah, we're going to do this and this, and then the Republicans that were sitting there were horrified, and then of course he backtracked, just completely reversed himself maybe 24 hours later. So, he received $30 million from the NRA in his election. It was like, I think, one of the biggest donors that they had. Now, I think, again, per your question earlier, I think the tide's turning because they didn't spend nearly as much. Gun control groups spent more money than the NRA did this in 2018 for the first time in forever.
Well, where can we find your books? Are they online? They're obviously not at the bookstore.
They're here wherever books are sold, Jason, and you can get them at Books A Million, Amazon. Here, support your local store.
Right.
So,
absolutely. Well, we thank you again, Andy, for coming down. It's going to be a great talk as well, and thank you so much for writing this book.
Thank you, sir.